Thank you very much for the opportunity. We appreciate it. And want to welcome you to Rockside Winery and Vineyards. We're starting out in the tasting room here. And Valerie can kind of show them around. The tasting room is different than it's been in the past. We've owned the winery for about 5 years now. We obviously, like everybody else, are having to deal with the COVID thing. So as Valerie comes around over there, you're not going to see any tables. Mainly because we can only fit about 3 tables inside the small place and still be within the COVID rules and feeling like we're making everybody safe. We're very serious about it. So when you come, we hope you feel safe to come. We make our own wine here. Obviously, we're a winery. We also, in the tasting room, serve local craft beers, and we have some whiskeys that we serve also. We're not a full bar, but we try to have some variety for people. We also serve wine slushies, which are pretty doggone popular, and people have enjoyed them quite a bit. During the shutdown of COVID, it's part of what kept us in business. And the good news from the COVID whole thing, looks like we're going to survive. There was a time when I wasn't sure that I could say that. We're going to step outside onto the patio now. And we're going to talk a little bit about vineyards. You can see that we've been working on our patio, trying to get some, because most of our business now is outside, trying to get some more outside seating for people in the shade. So it's still a work in process, but we're getting there, and we've increased that space. So as you can see, we call ourselves a little slice of wine country in central Ohio's backyard. Hopefully you can see why. We have about 5 acres of vineyards that we grow. They are only vines that Valerie and I decided when we bought the place. We were only going to grow vines that could actually grow in our area. So without going into a lot of detail, I don't have a lot of time, but we have basically one Native American variety called Niagara, and that makes our wine called Old Grandstand. We don't grow any of the classic grapes that you've probably heard of, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot and Riesling and Chardonnay. We don't grow those mainly because in central Ohio, they just don't grow well. It's too cold here for the most part. If we get a winter where it's 5 or 10 degrees below zero, which is going to happen in Ohio pretty often, we're going to end up with dead vines. And we're just not willing to replant these vines every 5 or 6 years at the max. So we have the one variety of Native American, those are down at the bottom of the field and up here at top. And all the rest are what are called French American hybrids. And those are basically hybridizations between those classic European grapes that I talked about, the Chardonnays and the Rieslings and the Cabernet Sauvignons, and the Native Americans, the Catawbas and the Niagaras and the Concords and others. And so they are vines or grapes that you probably haven't heard as much of before, but they make really nice wine, and we know that they're going to make it through our winters. So for instance, these first 5 rows up here are Petit Pearl, and we have some Vidal Blanc. Down a little further is our Grat Noir and our Noirier. There's a grape called Steuben down there. We grow Chamberson. We have one table grape called Jupiter, which, by the way, we'll probably do some U-pick when they start to get ripe, so keep an eye out for that. But again, the idea is we're growing grapes that can grow in this climate, that can make nice wine, and we feel pretty good about that. Vines are a really hard plant to grow. My wife Valerie, who's behind the screen there, takes care of all 5 acres, and basically every vine has to get touched 6 or 7 times every year. In the spring, we have to go through basically, actually in the winter, the early winter, or the late winter, I'm sorry, we have to go through and we have to prune all the vines. So Valerie basically goes and cuts off most of last year's growth, leaving little sticks about this long, which have buds on them. We call those nodes. And once they're all pruned, then, and by the way, that's all by hand, then spring comes and they start to bud out. And when they bud out, basically the new tendrils have all the leaves, all the grapes, everything already attached to them. And immediately we have to start to spray. It would be great to grow organic grapes, but to be quite honest, there's nothing stupider than trying to grow organic grapes in Ohio. They're very susceptible to molds and mildews. We don't have a lot of insect problems, although this year we seem to have a lot of Japanese beetles, but we have to keep those molds and mildews under control. If we didn't, we basically wouldn't have any fruit. So once we start getting those tendrils growing, the next thing that happens is flowering. And yes, grapes do flower. They're not a pretty flower, but they do flower. And right after flowering, then we get fruit set. And this is when we're going to start understanding how much actual crop we're going to get out of the vineyard. I think our best year so far, we've had about 2,200 or 22,000 pounds
32,000
out of the vineyard. So you can see we harvest quite a bit of grapes even just in our small 5 acres here. The grapes then from fruit set to what we call veraison. Veraison is where the red grapes start to get red. Right now everything is green. All the grapes in the vineyard are green. At veraison they will start to turn red, and they will all start then to get sweet. And when veraison happens, that's when we have to net. We learned our lesson pretty quickly the first couple of years that the birds are going to come and get those red grapes. They see them better and they love them. And they don't care about the grapes. All they want is the seeds inside. So they peck them open, they pull out the seeds, and from that point on, the grape is basically ruined. So in probably just a couple of weeks here, we'll be starting to net all of the red grapes. They continue to develop. They continue to, the root systems push carbohydrates up into the grapes. They get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. In that September, October timeframe, I'll start doing weekly measurements of the sugar content. And when that sugar content is high enough, that's when we'll start to harvest. The Niagaras go first. We have to pick those early, about 13, what we call bricks. It's really about 13% sugar, because if you let them hang any longer, they pick up this very kind of diesel aroma, which isn't very pleasant. So those go first. And then the rest of them, we're looking for about 22% sugar if we can get there, depending on what the season is and what's happening with the rain and all the rest of those things. And then during that whole season, Valerie is dropping fruit on some of the vines. Some vines can handle more fruit than others. If you let the vines basically keep all their fruit, then they try to put too many resources into too much fruit and none of it's any good. So on some of the vines, Valerie will actually be cutting bunches off the vines and throwing them on the ground. It's a hard thing to do, but it's got to be done to have quality fruit. We have to hedge the vines. Some of these grow really quickly and really fast. If they get too much green, then they put all of their energy into the green and none into the fruit. And so we have to keep the green chopped off. She'll also go through and do shoot thinning and leaf pulling. And there's just a lot of work in the vineyard. They are tough plants to grow. And a lot of people are surprised that we can even grow in Ohio, but we can. If you pick the right varieties of vines and you take good care of them, they'll do well for you. And as you can see, things look pretty good. We got a decent crop load this year. As long as we have a nice, hot, relatively dry summer, and we don't get too much rain at the end of the season, well, so far things look pretty good. We did have a little bit of freeze early, and that affected some of the vines down at the bottom of the field. But for the most part, things look really good this year. All right? Okay, so let's walk around the back here. As we're going, you'll see our little winery pup. That's Reese. Reese is short for Riesling. One of our team members, Taylor, just got a new puppy, and she's training him basically to be a winery dog. So, hey, Reese. Hey. Hey, puppy. He's a good boy. All right, so we're going to come back over to the crush pad. The crush pad is basically where we bring the grapes when we've harvested to start the process. So this here is what we call our crusher to stemmer. So we go out into the vineyard, we go out there with bins. The bins are square totes that we put the grapes in after we prune them, or after we cut them off the vine. And they hold about 30 pounds of grapes each. And the crush pad will just be stacked with them, depending on the variety and how many grapes we got. But then the first thing they do is go into the crusher to stemmer. So this device basically has a rotating auger in it. Underneath here is a cage with holes in it, and there's paddles that spin. So we dump them into the top. They drop into this cage that has the holes in it. The grapes go through the holes, but the rachises, the clusters that hold the grapes together, stay inside. So the grapes fall through, the rachises come out the end, we collect those and toss them in the back field, and then they drop down into a crusher, which basically is 2 rollers that they go between that crushes the grapes. They go into a bin in the back, and then we pump them out the bottom. Now where they go from there depends on what kind of grapes they are. White wines basically go immediately into our press, which is this device. This big cage we fill up with grapes, crushed grapes. Excuse me. Then we use this hydraulic ram to basically push it down really, really hard. And the juice runs out the end. We collect that into a big tank, and then we do ferment. So that's pretty much a white wine. You crush it, you press it, you ferment it. Red wines are a little more complicated. So red grapes will also go into the crusher to stemmer, get the stems removed, they come out one side, they get crushed, but they don't go into the press. They go to a tank. And the reason is because the only reason you get color in a red wine is because of the skins. So we do what's, we basically ferment the grapes on the skins. Crusher to stemmer, into a tank, we add yeast into that. Fermentation starts, but it starts with all the seeds and the skins and the pulp and the juice and everything. And what happens is during that fermentation process, the color gets extracted out of the skins. So that red color in the red wine actually comes from the skins of the grape. If you don't have skins, you don't get any color. So we will ferment them. Generally, it's going to take 7 to 10 days to ferment. And then we take that new wine at that point and we put it into the crusher. We press all that new wine off. We put that into a tank to continue the process. And then we basically, all the squished up grapes, we call pumice, basically again gets dumped into our back field. And the deer have a great time with it. And we have a lot of those out here too. All right. So now we're going to walk back to the patio, go back inside and walk into the winery. Trip over something. I'll close it. All right, so now we're going to go into the winery itself. And when we go in, it's going to look like it's packed. That's because it is packed. We have a lot of stuff going on back here. So this is the main part of the winery. The tanks basically all have wine that is in some point of being finished. Everything is fermented at this point. Most of it's just aging. Some of it's on oak, although I'm not a big oaky winemaker. I don't use a lot of oak, but some of this wine is on oak. Excuse me. And very soon, it's going to get into the bottle. So Ryan, my son Ryan, who's the general manager here, you probably, if you come into the winery, see him behind the bar, is helping me with wine down here, and he's getting really good at it. And so he's got a mission right now to basically get a wine done a week because we need to get all this stuff out of tanks to get ready for the fall, to be able to bring in the new stuff and have tank space for it. So we're doing a lot of bottling. There is one special tank, that's that big one up there. You can see there are hoses into it. That tank actually has a glycol chiller. So if we need to keep the wine cool during fermentation or during processing, we can put it in there. That's a 500-gallon tank. That allows us to control the temperature in that wine. So you can see then we have a couple of big stacks of bottles. Bottles come into us by the pallet, and I don't know how many there are. There's probably 12 to 1,300 bottles there. We're getting bottles in pretty regularly right now to get some of these new wines into the bottle. This is our filler. So the way the filler works, let me see if I can grab the bottle here real quick. So we're ready to get the wine into the bottle. We pump the wine into this tank on top. And basically, it's gravity. So gravity pulls it down into these fillers. When we're ready to fill, we put bottles on, just like that. That fills up the bottle. And the way this thing works is that as the wine fills up the bottle with air, there's two outlets here to let the wine out. There's a little hole in the back that lets the air out. So as the wine is filling up the bottle, the air is coming back up through these tubes. And once it reaches that outlet, it basically stops. So it works really well. It works pretty quickly. It fills the bottles up really evenly, and it works really well for us. Going to a big winery, they're going to have this great big machine that they use to bottle, and those are just really expensive. So we're still doing it like this. Probably will be for the foreseeable future. This is our corker. So the way the corker works, the corks are all in this bin on top. Bottle goes on the platform. Once the bottle's on the platform, this ram comes down, and basically all the corkers work exactly the same. Inside this box is a jaw that basically squeezes the cork down. that plunger comes down and pushes it in the bottle. And of course, once it goes into the bottle, it re-expands, and that's what seals up the bottle. We use what are called an agglomerated or a technical cork. Real cork are great, but sometimes they can have basically a bacteria in there that can cork wine. If you ever heard of a corked wine that comes from the cork, and that can ruin the wine. We don't use real corks. We don't use artificial corks. Nothing wrong with artificial corks. They do pretty well, but sometimes they're really hard to get out of the bottle. And to be honest with you, I don't want to work that hard to get out my wine. So we use these agglomerated corks. They're basically real cork that's been chopped up into small pieces. They clean all those bacteria that cork wine out and basically epoxy it back together into the shape of the cork with an epoxy that doesn't have a taste or a smell. So we like these a lot. They work really well for us, and that's what we use in our bottles. And of course, then once it's in the bottle, it's ready for you guys to come in and enjoy it. And that is kind of our philosophy at Rockside Winery. We believe wine is about enjoying food, family, and friends, and that's all it's about, right? The rest of it is guidance. You know, you have the sommeliers and everybody else who will tell you, here's the kind of wine you should like. Baloney. You like whatever wine you like to drink. That's really the rule. Drink what you like. If you like sweet wines, that's great. If you like dry wines, that's great. But I always tell people there's an awful lot of wines in between those two that are really, really good. And if you only drink one kind, you're missing out on a lot of good wine. But again, wine's about enjoyment, so drink what you like. Let's walk back out into the tasting room then. See where we're at. So the last thing I'll let you know is here at the winery, we have live music, we have food trucks on the weekends. They happen at different times in the weekends, so check our calendar online, www.rocksidewinery.com, for what those schedules are for the weekends. We also have a wine club, and the way our wine club works, it's called the Your Wine, Your Way Wine Club. Valerie and I also own another winery called Winery that's up in Columbus, and the two of them are a part of this wine club. So basically, it's a quarterly wine club, 2 bottles every quarter. It doesn't cost anything to join the club. You can leave it anytime you want, as long as you take 2 bottles every quarter. We choose a default 2 bottles, but if you want to, you can log in and you can choose whatever wines you want from either winery. And you get 10% discount on your on any events, any merchandise, any food at the winery. You also get a set of free tastings every month. So if you're interested in the wine club, it's a lot of fun. We have about 700 members, believe it or not, between the 2 wineries. So you can go to either one of the websites, www.rocksidewinery.com or www.wine.winery.com. Wine.'s W-Y-A-N-D-O-T-T-E. There's a form you can fill out there for the wine club, and we'd love to have you as a part of the club. So I think that's about my 20 minutes. I think we did pretty well. Do we have any questions?
You want to go sit down?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's take this. Thank you, honey. And I think I can figure out how to turn this around. There we go.
There you go. I had a couple questions in the chat. Kathleen was asking, do you harvest by hand?
Yeah, we do harvest by hand, as a matter of fact. And we have volunteers that come and help us to that. If you're interested, let us know. We do. We harvest everything by hand. We basically take clippers out. We clip every bunch off the vines. We put them into the lugs, and we carry the lugs up to the crush pad. So yeah, it's a big job. It's going to start probably the end of August, beginning of September, and it goes all the way into October.
Do you post when you are accepting volunteers, like on Facebook or on your website, or should people just call you?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to send me an email. It's Robin, R-O-B-I-N, @rocksidewinery.com, and I can put you on our volunteer email list. And when we're looking for somebody to help with bottling or with harvesting or anything else, we'll send a note out to that list. If you can help, that's great. If not, that's all right too. We just appreciate people taking the emails.
Cool. Very good. I had a question. You said you have a time when you pick grapes, or when people come out to pick on their own. Is that an event that you guys do, or what? How does that work?
No, so there's one row of grapes called Jupiter, and Valerie's used to make jam before. She called it Jupiter jam. It was out of this world. See what she did there? So we will do U-pick at some point. So you can come out and you can basically pick as many as you want. We charge for it by the pound, and they're nice grapes. They really are. And table grapes, by the way, the main difference, not the only, but the main difference between table grapes and wine grapes is there's no seeds. Skins tend to be a little thicker. They tend to be looser bunches, but for the most part, it just means they don't have seeds. All of the wine grapes have seeds, all of them.
Does anyone know? I don't have any more questions in the chat, I don't think. Let's see.
I just got one that says, what's your most popular
Good,
wine?
you can see them. Good. I don't have to read them to you if you can read
Yeah,
them.
we'd love to have you volunteer. Thank you, Shelley. Our most popular wines are the sweet wines. 85% of the American wine drinking public drinks sweet wines. So our best one is, best-selling one is Rockside Red, which is Concord blended with, we don't grow Concord, I bring that in from someplace else, but we blend it with some of the grapes that we grow here in the vineyard. Rockside Red and then Old Grandstand. Rockside Red has a picture of Mount Pleasant on it. Old Grandstand is the old ladies grandstand that burnt down at the Fairfield County Fairgrounds here recently. That one is a Niagara that we grow here. That's the one that I talked, the Native American that I talked about. But I will say that my goal in both of the wineries is to make a nice variety of wines from dry to sweet, red to white. We even do some fruit wines. I don't have any right now, but the COVID thing kind of slowed us down, but I'm planning on getting those back on the shelf. We do peach and strawberry and all kinds of good fruit wines. But my goal is that everybody that comes into the winery can find something they like. For instance, we get a lot of people that enjoy what I call California style wines. And so we bring in some Cabernet Franc from Washington State, and we make a dry red out of that Cabernet Franc. We have, I think, 2 or 3 dry reds on the shelf right now, dry white. We make a rosé from our Steuben grape called Rose Window, and that's a almost dry, not quite dry wine. So we have a little bit of everything, but the most popular are definitely those sweet wines. Valerie's showing you it's going to be backwards on your screen, I think, but it's in a state of Ohio, and it says wine puts me in a good state.
Okay, let me look back through here a little bit. I think we missed a couple questions.
So I can't see all the Jeff just put one on there.
Yeah. Can you see his? I'll go back up while you're answering that one.
I couldn't see it all. It popped up and went away.
Okay. He said, I know you don't have very much of a food menu. Are people allowed to bring in their own food?
Absolutely. We have no problem with that at all. We have people that have pizzas delivered here. So we don't have any problem with that at all. To be honest with you, being a winemaker and owning a winery is enough work. I don't want to be a restaurateur. So we do have some food. We have small plates, a cheese and cracker plate, a hummus plate, a meat and cheese plate. We also have some pizzas made by a local company called Fired Up Pizza. Michael does a great job on those. And we have 4 or 5 different varieties of those that we can do. So, but we absolutely don't mind at all if you want to bring in your own food. That's great.
Are the grapes in Lancaster grown for both of your winery locations?
No, we basically use every drop we grow here for Rockside Winery. Wyandotte is an urban winery. We don't grow anything there. We bring everything in to make wine at Wyandotte. No, we grow everything for our winery here.
How long do you age the wine before putting them into the bottles?
Yeah, it depends on the wine. It depends. Isn't that everybody's favorite answer? So fruit wines are generally the ones that are going to go the fastest. So I can generally get fruit wines done in 3 to 4 months. White wines are generally going to be 5 to 12 months, depending on the kind of wine and how it's doing. Red wines, if they're going to go on oak particularly, are going to be the longest. They can be anywhere from 8 months to 1.5 years. And that's part of the expense of being in a winery too, is that all that stuff's got to sit back there in the tanks for a while. The wine though, I always say this, and it sounds a little bit, I don't know, cheesy, but I have to listen to the wine. I regularly taste the wine. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. And Ryan does too. And what we're looking for is that wine ready to take the next step. The next step might be racking it from one tank to another. The next step might be adding some oak. The next step might be heading to the bottle. But in general, and then by the way, once it's in the bottle, the wines can age a little bit more too. So like my Cabernet Franc could probably age 6 to 10 years and continue to get better. The answer is it kind of depends.
Okay, the only other one I see is, do you wash the grapes prior to the winemaking process?
No. First of all, that would be a really tough thing to do. As many grapes as we've got coming in, and I always joke it adds complexity. Basically, we do have to be a little bit careful. So you may be familiar with a bug called the Asian lady beetle. It kind of looks like a ladybug, but it's orange and it bites. Asian lady beetles, if we have a lot of them, can be a problem because they add a taste to the wine, and it's not a pleasant taste. That's why the birds don't like to eat them, because they taste bad. So if we have an Asian lady beetle problem, which knock on wood we haven't had yet, then we might have to work on something to shake all those things out of the vines before we crush them and destem. But for the most part, the grapes go right into the crusher destem.
Lots of good questions. What are your hours right now? I know you're open during the pandemic, right? Everyone can still come and sit outside, but what are your hours?
Yeah, so we have limited inside seating too. It's only 3 tables. We can basically seat 12 people max inside, and they're all socially distanced. Excuse me. Most of our inside space is kind of reserved for keeping people from each other while they're waiting for things at the bar. But we're open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 1 to 7. We're open Friday and Saturday from 1 to 9, and we're open Sundays from 1 to 5. And all of those hours are up to date on Google and Facebook and our website too.
Okay. Does anyone else? I don't have any more in the chat. Does anyone want to unmute and ask any questions? I think you answered all of my questions. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
I might have missed the first minute. Did you say you had some entertainment, and are those regularly scheduled?
Yeah, they're going to be on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and or Sunday. So Ryan varies those a little bit based on what's going on the weekends. So if you check our website, the event calendar there, that's generally the best way to find out what's happening over the weekend. Yeah, we were just talking, we had the Wicked Lobster food truck out here, and boy, they are good. And the food trucks that we have in general are pretty doggone good. So yeah, watch for those food trucks coming out.
I always get your updates on Facebook too. I think that's probably the best way too. You don't even have to go to the website. You can just like on the Facebook page and the updates come right up on my feed.
Yeah, good point. We always put all our events out on Facebook too, so you can see them there.
Okay, well, I don't think I have any other questions. So yeah, I think we're good. But Robin, and Valerie, we really appreciate you guys being on today.
No problem.
Tons of good information.
We appreciate the opportunity to talk to people. If you have any other questions, I gave out my email earlier. It's robin@rocksidewinery.com, ROBIN. Feel free to send me a note, and we hope you come to visit at the winery. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Awesome. Thanks again. Thanks, guys, for coming on today. Oh, before I hang up, I want to let you guys know what's coming up next week. On Tuesday, the Humble Crate Artisan Mall in Pickerington is going to be on. And on Thursday, we're going to have the city council, David Old from the city council and Mayor Scheffler. And the week after that, Double Edge Brewery will be on and the Candy Cottage. So that's what's coming up on the virtual community in the next couple weeks. I may have more messages. Let's see. Oh, no. Everyone just says, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day.